Artpark Company introduced its master plan team to the public.
Very, very important moment, I think, in our community and Artpark life. It's a pivotal moment that I think in what we've been doing the past at least 3-4 years, starting the change, recognizing the many facets of Artpark and its incredible potential. I do believe, since I got here about almost 4 years ago, that this is a national treasure. Everybody who comes here, many artists, including our new team of architects, is absolutely stunned by what they see, how incredible this place is, how multifaceted it is, with its historical legacy, with its artistic legacy, with its opportunities for modern artists and modern artistic thinking. This building was built 40 years ago, more than that, 1973, and was opened in 74. There's never been a major renovation to this building ever since. It was built for the kind of performances that took place back then. Now, theater has evolved, ballet has evolved, modern dance has evolved, performing arts have evolved. We need new spaces, new opportunities for artists. We need new opportunities for our audiences. We definitely looking at possibilities, ways to bring in more people to this site. It's my personal mission to bring in anybody I can from all over the world to see and benefit from this site, because it is absolutely stunning. It also represents ideas of our relationship with the environment, what we have done with this earth in the past, what we're doing now, and opportunities now to redeem ourselves perhaps, or do better, right? So today is not going to be a presentation to tell you what we're going to do. Today is more to hear from you. What do you see? What do you know? And eventually, through this 6-month process, eventually we'll come up with a plan that we will share with you, with your input, with your help. So today is about you. It's about your voice, your place.
I wanted to start with the first email and call we got when Sonia visiting our office about, I think, end of last year, saying we're looking for a team who can help us envision the future of Artpark. And we didn't know what Artpark was. And we went online and we started to read, and we realized, why didn't we know about this incredible place? We obviously started to learn about the legacy, the history, the incredible life that has been taking place here over so many generations, and looking at its contemporary programming. And then we came out here actually in the winter, and there was nobody here. It was very cold and it was very wet. And but what we did is we discovered the land, and we discovered not just the venues. We walked here. It was very cold inside here as well. But also beautifully, we walked all the way up to the plateau and all the different areas, and we discovered such a rich and very diverse land. And we realized in order to develop a vision for what this park needs to be, we need to bring a very diverse and multifaceted team together. We realized this landscape, the landscape itself, as a constructed landscape, is a really interesting quality of this place, and we need to find a landscape partner who really understands this idea of nature, but not just nature in a natural sense, but also nature in a constructed sense.
So it is very important to tie back to the exercise here is to create a framework with you, and that framework will tell us what are the series of activities and initiations that we're going to do together. And this is the byproduct from the investment. It's very simple. You go, you're surprised, and then you want to make a photo moment, an aha moment. And I think the series here actually gives you that. So today in the table, we'd like to speculate, what is your aha moment? I really want to learn. What is the fantasy that is craving for to bring back, in a way? And the conclusion, how you frame views, which in terms of landscape, we are about to go there. So it's very important with all this beautiful scenery, how we guide the audience, how we meander through the park, how we frame the different views.
One of the things that we were most excited about is that none of us had ever really worked in a landscape quite like this, and in fact in a landscape that has been utilized like this. I was under the impression that I had lived in Western New York, having spent years just outside of Ithaca, but I was corrected that that is not in fact Western New York. That is a different region altogether. But one thing that was really important while I was living there is really that geology and ecology was a huge part of my life, just like daily life there. And I think that there's something similar happening here, where the culture, essentially from prehistory to sort of Erie Canal history to now, the culture is really centered on this idea that you have unbelievable resources and a lot of different ways to sort of interact with them. And one of them is to turn it into a creative space like Artpark is and has been, and how do we sort of get there. So there's a legacy of constructing landscapes here and being able to make them exactly what we need. And so humans are really part of the ecology, and we wanted to be able to find a way to celebrate that. And instead of making new massive earthworks, as you know, have produced this area, and areas like it, such as landfills, golf courses, aquariums, all these ways that kind of like point to what our relationship with the landscape is. What we were hoping is we could kind of celebrate what's already happened and exist in a new nature and sort of program it and live in it in a way that already exists, rather than making more giant moves. We're living in a sort of cultural history and a natural history that's really, really unique, and we wanted to make sure that we were able to utilize that as best as possible while we think about the future of our park. And one of the ways that we found most inspiring were these art installations that use the landscape in very, very low and quiet ways that sort of indicate what the human capacity for like inspiration in these landscapes are, without necessarily, producing another huge landfill.
As in any other practice, I think for us it's very important to first understand all the way from the foundational elements in terms of landscape, and it's almost like being a doctor and analyzing really what is the anatomy of this place. So for us it was very important to see and start understanding the elements. For us it's very important to understand the different levels, so that's very unique about this place, that you are high, low, medium, the plateaus, the lower level of the water. So it's very important that it's developing a sequence or a scenery of stepping down or stepping up, and how you go through that landscape, and understanding the vegetarian areas versus the open areas, which enable pockets of outdoor living rooms, where right now we're actually utilizing one of them. This is indoor, but we have to really connect them. So how we can connect all these pockets together, these different levels, and working with the section of the park, which is actually very important. And that section also has to do with the theater that our colleagues will say, for example. And I think it's really critical, because when we are designing in the future this park together with your input, it's really important to understand those view lines and corridors and relationship between the backdrop, the foreground, the backgrounds, etc.
As a theatre consultant, we're also looking at sightlines, the same way as we're looking at sightlines when there's a theatre like this one. The sightline has to be excellent wherever you are. So there is also a need to construct the rake so that you have the best sightlines possible.
It's also important to tie back to the whole regional infrastructure, in this case with the national park as well, on all the state park, how you connect all the bike path, and perhaps why not having go through our park, or have tapping to that investment which is statewide. Therefore you can go through all the sequence of parks, and I think it's really good, important that we engage them and participate into this future vision. So here you can see a diagram that shows all the parks that you can connect, so you become a park system. And that is really important part of your history, because Buffalo had a park system, first one in the world. So I think it's very important to tap into that knowledge and bring Olmsted all the way in. What it is important about for us is, you don't have a good park if you don't have a good connectivity. You don't have a good park if you don't have good edges. You don't have a good park if you don't have good access. So for us, together with the venues and the music, is very critical that we understand that we need to enhance the park structure. And it's definitely something we wanted to do together with you, a part of this vision. And that will enable pockets and rooms, and that will enable different living rooms throughout the whole park. That will enable what I said at the beginning, of really acknowledging the landscape and those knolls and rivers and the different layers, because it's all about layers and how this all come together. So if you understand your topography, the backdrop, the foreground, the park structure will enable at the end to create all this initiative, where those early images that Sophie actually had.
One of the first things that we noticed when we came to the site in February was the strange kind of asymmetrical shape of the amphitheater. So that was one of the things that we seeked to address sort of fairly early on in the competition phase of this project. So we did an analysis of the existing amphitheater, and you can see that the main area of the audience is actually quite a bit off-center of the stage. And actually walking around during the concert last night, there are seats that are actually looking uphill at the stage, and they're really seeing the underside of the stage roof and not the people on the stage at all. So those are some very fundamental things that I think we would try to address if we were to tackle a renovation of the amphitheater as part of this project. Our proposal is a fairly minor shift within the amphitheater structure itself. It keeps the stage position roughly in the same area, but it reorients it up into the natural landscape of the hillside and where the ridgeline that Daniel mentioned is situated. And we think that this will improve the audience experience for everyone. It will improve circulation for getting to and from the stage area for artists and technicians. And I think more importantly, it ties into the landscape of the park in a way that the current amphitheater doesn't really do. A byproduct of doing that, and we think one of the main benefits of it potentially for the surrounding Lewiston community, is that it will direct the sound into the hillside as opposed to directing it directly at the town. Performance, we're going to be looking at those great venues from across the world and saying, how does Artpark compare to those? And one of the things that I was really struck by in coming to the show last night was that having seen shows at Red Rocks Amphitheater and at the Gorge Amphitheater in Washington, this location has that magic, that draw of seeing a show in the outdoors in an amazing environment that those great amphitheaters have. And that is a great gift. That is something that we absolutely hope to capitalize on here. You know, what we hope to do is to create an art park that has a vision and an identity that's built around a multitude of kind of different programming streams, different interventions into the landscape that can host a variety of different activities. And for me, personally, in reading about the history of Artpark, I was fascinated that it started as a place where art was created and where art was really hosted on site from start to finish here. And it has moved away from that, I think. It has become a place where art is presented. And I personally would really like to see Artpark return to an idea of activity from the very moment of art creation on the site.
We are here now together with you. There's a reason why you are on stage and why it's not that you guys are in the room and we are on stage. We need to do this together. We need to do this with you. The idea is that we create this vision, we develop this vision together in dialogue with everybody here. And I think Sonia already mentioned, we just started to think. We have 6 months to come up with this master plan. What we presented now were really conversation starters, if you want.
What if Artpark becomes, a stronger relationship with Lewiston, and how you make it feel yours in that ownership?
What about an online presence? Today, what is happening is we experience so many things first online and then we go somewhere and experience it physically. What is the relationship between the digital and the physical? Is it necessary to make it an integrated experience, or is it something that is completely isolated? Is this actually a place where you are offline, where you are with people in nature without technology?
What if Artpark becomes a place where you have makerspace, or maybe you call the brewery on Citrus Street and tell them you also have a stage area here during the summer and people can sit? What if Artpark becomes a place where artists can start remarkable items? What if Artpark becomes an opportunity for people to engage?
What if Artpark becomes a host for other communities, specifically the community of Lewiston? What if there is what if it's not just presenting sort of its own programs, but also hosting programs from elsewhere and other artistic movements?
I will go for a farmer's market. I think we all know this one in Chicago pretty successful, but what is that next landmark that we can create as another beacon? And what to create that photo moment where everybody when it comes? Maybe it's in the rock.
Which one? A place for recreation. Obviously it was a place for recreation. It was a place where everybody would come. How do we bring this place also back in everybody's mind as a place to just come and hang out and stroll and have a picnic and be together with the community.
Whereas it's a place for gathering where I can buy a cheap sandwich for $4 and everybody can come with their kids and the school. And there is a canteen right in the edge of the cliff.
This doesn't look like a place where you can get a $4 sandwich, by the way. This is obvious. I don't have to explain, but obviously it should be a place for kids. It should not just be a place for the past, but also certainly for the future. And how can we jointly define this future together so that there can be new memories created here?
What if the Artparks are room for community? So that's part of what we think this building should offer. So it's so big, but it's such an Armageddon. So we try to peel it off and create edges that you can engage maybe with that mural and the painting, or you can have actually classes for children as well, or you can have actually your own shop where you can illustrate what you're doing on a specific season, and the next season you're out and no one comes in.
Did you put this one in there? Well,
this is, I think maybe we cannot, have Sammy Hagar for free, but maybe we can tell what are the list of movies you want to project in summer. So we have a movie night every Thursday.
And we can project on the stage house here. And we were talking this morning, maybe you use the parking lot, you make a drive-in cinema, you project on the stage house here, and then people come and they deliver popcorn to your car window. Yeah, roller skates. Yeah, roller skates, yes. We spoke about this already. This should be a place where art is created again. What are the programs, that we can bring here into this space, small scale, where people start to actually produce works of art again, spark new ideas, spark new energies.
I don't know what this will mean, but I think it's inspiring the landscape and actually the beauty of this reflection.
It is the last one. So this was a article 1974, when, I don't know if it was when Artpark opened, but it was clearly, this place defined an era. And now our task is to define a new era, right? How are we going to do that? How are we going to do that together? Tonight, as we start this process of gathering information, of starting conversations with all of you, as we start this 6-month trajectory to develop that vision, we would like to work with you on sort of what is this new headline going to be. So,
I am very encouraged by all the great ideas and the really great attitude and great inspiring, very practical and constructive suggestions and participation. And I'm so encouraged. I think people are really on board with our direction. That's what it feels like right now.
Okay.
So I'm super pleased.